Hey guys, welcome to another interesting event by People Who Design in collaboration with LottieFiles, powered by Startup Grind Faridabad. I am Ashwin, and this is Arpit, your host. We will be taking you through this event and try to have a as smooth event we can on this online platform.
Thanks, Ashwin, for introducing me and you. So I'm Arpit. I'm product designer at AirMeet, the platform that you are on right now, and also a community manager of People Who Design. Special thanks to AirMeet for helping us to have this wonderful event. AirMeet is an event programming platform for your next big event. So if you want to arrange any kind of webinar, any event that you want to have on online, so you can use AirMeet. It's free right now, so grab this opportunity. Otherwise, it will be get paid soon. So before we begin, let's have someone from PWT team. So
Can you
PWT,
hear me? Yeah. Hi guys. So I'm Rishabh. I am one of the co-founders for People Who Design, and we started this community to create a design ecosystem for new and coming designers in India, and across multiple platforms. We have over 1,200 members that are actively engaged in conversations, and we used to do events offline in Gurgaon, New Delhi, Bangalore, but as of now, we just partnered with Airmeet and do it online. Thanks to Arpit. So yeah, thanks a lot, Ashwin and Arpit.
yeah, thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Rishabh.
Thank you. So talking about micro interaction, Ashwin, what is the first thing that come to your mind when you hear these two words like micro interaction?
So I think Arpit, for me, micro interaction, like when I hear these two words, I think what comes to my mind would be, a set of events that takes place when we're using a product that helps product communicate with us, that end up giving us a feeling of joy and pleasure. Like we feel happy when you're using it, we look at it, we get intrigued by it, and keeps
Yeah.
us into the product as much as it can. So that's what I think about it. Like that would be, I think, a layman's term, a layman's definition for it. But like you've been in the industry for long, and I would want to know from you, like, what do you think would like is the importance of micro interaction in today's design?
So as well, micro interaction, as you said, engage users and make your product more humane or lively. It enhances the user experience and increase the user acquisition rate. So let's say you are using your product as a new product in the market, so it will increase that acquisition rate and also the retention one, right? So one of the major example in Indian design industry is Swiggy. So for example, if you scroll on their app page or open Swiggy Genie, which is their new product in the Swiggy like console, so you will see lots of micro interaction that stands out in the experience, right? So if you scroll it,
Yeah.
the offer icon rotates, and if you open the Genie, it gives you some sense of the joyfulness that that particular product has, right? So talking about
Yeah.
Swiggy, we have Sapta with us, who presently oversees consumer design at Swiggy, which is India's largest food ordering and delivery platform. We all know about Swiggy, right? And let's welcome him on the stage, and let's talk about more towards interaction and the micro interaction part.
All right, welcome back to the session, guys. So I'm really excited to have Saptarshi with us. So talking about him, Saptarishi's worked with some of the well-known startups like Housing.com, Data, and a lot of big and small names around the world. Motion design is really close to his heart, and his Dribble account is something that like I would suggest everyone to follow if you are a interaction enthusiast. Yeah, and like I said, we couldn't be more than happy to have him talking about micro interaction and giving us his point of view on this topic. So, hi Sapta, how are you?
Thank you, Ashwin. It was a great intro that you're given. It feels great to be a part of this session, and thanks for inviting me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, to begin with, I think the most generic and the most important question for this session is that what is interaction design?
Okay. So I'm sure, all of us have our own idea of what interaction design is, right? So many of us think that it could be the animations or the transitions or prototypes that you see on Dribble or other places, right? Because we always associate micro interaction or interaction with animations. But I think that's not entirely true, because interaction as a word means interacting with something, right? So now I'm interacting with all of you using via the screen, this camera, this mic that I'm wearing, or the earphones, right? So there's some sort of interaction happening between us, right? And during this interaction, we go through a lot of things. How do I feel? How do you feel? Or how do the hundreds of other people, 135 other people, how are they feeling seeing us or interacting with us, maybe showing reactions or typing in some messages? So all these are nothing but interaction. We are doing it in a remote way. There are similar interactions which happen when we design our apps, the graphical user interface, GUI as we call it. So every product or every app is essentially some sort of a communication that we're doing with our users, right? So if I talk about Swiggy again, what am I doing at Swiggy? So it's an interface using which we are interacting with our customers. This is the platform via which they're telling us, this is what I want to eat, this is what I do not want to eat. Last time you guys screwed up, so this time make sure you do a better job, or you give a tip to our delivery people. And also, these are nothing but communication or the interaction that is happening between two parties. So anything and everything that involves designing these interactions is interaction design, which many people also refer to it as UX design, product design, communication design. There are different names, but at the end of the day, it's similar. It's a similar purpose everyone is solving.
Okay. I don't think anyone else could have explained it in such a easy manner. So talking, like you've discussed about interactions, so talking about micro interactions to be specific, like what made you, like what is your story behind stepping into micro interactions?
I was just interacting with Rahul just before starting this. So, I said, so why I started with interaction, okay, you said about micro interaction, right? So I think you guys started this session with what is micro interaction. So, I thought I could give you one example. So I think I told you what interaction is. If I were to compare an interaction with micro interaction, this could be an analogy. When we meet in person, say Ashwin and Sapta, we shake hands. That is interaction. We are shaking hands. We are getting to know each other, right? But while shaking hands, if we smile or if I smile, that'll make you feel better. So here, handshake is the interaction, and that smile, which is not an important part of handshake, but it adds a lot of value. That smile is the micro interaction. Okay, so it's a micro, very small thing, but it enhances the experience. It enhances the interaction that you're working on. So that is micro interaction in my opinion. So now to answer to your question as to why I started doing it, there's a funny story. My first professional job as a designer was at housing.com, right? I mean, you have said it in your intro. So when I joined housing.com, I was a hardcore UX person, right? And I'm an engineer. I'm come from an engineering background. My analytical skills are supposed to be good. And so I was always into thinking, UX and all. And then when I joined the team, I saw some of my colleagues doing really awesome and cool stuff on Dribble. Okay, they would make concepts, they will make apps, and show animations and interactions, and it's like out of the world. And everyone would be talking about, wow, say Rahul has done this or Rama has done this. They were some of the motion designers in our team. So I thought, this is so cool. I need to learn this, right? So I went and spoke to one of them. I went and spoke to Rama, who's a great friend of mine. So I asked him, how do you create these things? He said, you do it using this tool, After Effects. I said, okay, this is what I need to learn to be that cool designer. This is exactly how I started, Ashwin. I'm not kidding it. This is exactly how I started to be cool. Okay, to do something cool. And now that I have spent some time doing motion design or doing interactions or After Effects, now I also know the underlying things under the coolness. Yes, coolness is always there, right? But under it, there are many other things, which I discover every day, right? The functional aspects of it. So yeah, that's how I started.
I mean, who would have imagined that, starting something to be cool and then after a few years talking about it and like, guiding people on how to get started with it. So
Yeah.
that's actually something really interesting. Like you said, okay, so you just said about using After Effects, and so what other tools do you usually use when you have to get into, like, when you have to make a micro interaction for, let's say, Swiggy or any of your personal projects?
I mean, the first thing is, always my first canvas is always my head. Uh, I think I rely on my head a lot. A lot of things you imagine. I have got some amazing ideas while I'm at the shower, and when I'm having a bath, I cannot have a tool with me, right? So it's my head all the
That's
time.
the best place to get ideas, like when you
Yeah,
are
yeah.
in your bathroom. Yeah.
Yeah. So, some of the greatest ones, there is one interaction, if you see my dribble, there is one which is pull to refresh using iPhone 10. I got that idea when I was in the shower. Then there was another real estate onboarding, which I had done, where things are morphing. That also I got in the shower. And there are, 3, 4 other things, some of the really good ones or popular ones on dribble, at least. I got those ideas while I was taking a shower. So my first
Wow.
and the most reliable canvas is always my head. And once that happens, when I get that idea, I quickly come out and I keep that in my mind. Of course, I'm not always at a state that right out of the bathroom I'll go and start working. That doesn't happen. So the next thing that I do is I go and make a still version of what I have in my head. Okay, so the still version could either be a paper sketch, but I tend to use a tool, be it Sketch or Figma, whatever I'm using. So just to try and understand, okay, I thought this can happen, but can this actually happen? So if I feel that, okay, a rectangle will come down or something, I draw a rectangle, I use my mouse and drag and see in Figma or in Sketch or whatever tool I'm using to see how would it be, how would it feel, and how it is going to affect everything else. And then once I'm fairly confident that this has some substance in it, something may happen. And that is when, I jump to After Effects. And, that's where I start. Yeah.
Okay, so
And
one thing
yeah.
I'm definitely, yeah. Yeah, go on.
No. So I think you said about micro interactions. So for micro interactions, it's always After Effects. If it's about prototype, then I use Principle, which is again a prototyping tool. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was saying that one thing I'm going to take away from this answer is that I'm going to start spending more time in my shower.
Yes.
I'll try to make it as productive as I can. And so, yeah, that is definitely going to happen tomorrow. I'm going to tell my parents that, I'm going to spend good half an hour, 1 hour to take showers. I need to
Go
get
for
my
it.
brain
Go for
working.
it. Go
Yeah.
for it.
Uh, Okay. So, you've been in this industry, you've been into motion design for quite some time now. And what I want to know is, like, and everyone wants to know is that what is the future of motion design or interaction design, according to you?
Future whenever I'm asked about any question about future, I always compare it with the past, right? So I see what has happened in the past, say in the 5 years, what has happened, and based on that, I try and think what may happen in the next 5 years. So one common thing is what has happened in the next 5 years is likely to happen in the next 6 months or next 1 year. Okay, that kind of change, because we are always moving at a very great pace, right? So to think about interaction, I feel the future there would be it'll be beyond GUI is what I feel. GUI is graphic user interface, what we use. It's going to be beyond that is what I feel. It will play with your reality, or in other words, augmented reality or mixed reality is what people talk about. So I think that is going to be a thing, because we get so many hints from different places. You see an Apple event and you see the kind of changes that they have made to their products, and you realize, okay, this might happen. Maybe this is coming. So all the pundits start thinking and they start tweeting, okay, you know what, this is going to happen. So so I too follow that passively. Maybe I don't participate there much, but so seeing all these things, I feel anything which augments your reality, which kind of comes in your reality, is going to happen. And if that happens, motion design, the need of motion design is going to spike up a lot. The reason being, one common thing, why do we use certain animations in our apps? It's because, it's comparable to your real life. It's comparable to your real life. When I throw this phone here, right, it's going to follow a trajectory. It's going to, flow like this and then going to go and drop, right? So when I'm simulating that in digital, I'll have to do it that way. Whereas in digital, I could also show it here, and the next moment I can show it here. That is without animation. But to make it more lifelike, I will create this fake path just to make sure it looks like real. So in app and all, yes, it makes sense. But imagine when thing comes into your reality, when you're interacting with a user interface in your real life, just like I'm doing with this bottle or I'm doing with this, AirPod case, there all these realities make a much more sense. So I see motion design, or the need to understand motion design, the need to understand real life and physics will become more and more important. So I see the future very bright for if you are into interaction or motion design or design in general. I know 2020 is not a great year, but I still would say this is a great time to be alive.
Yeah, got it. That's really an interesting point of view you have there. And so we've talked about future, but I'm going to come back to the question that I asked Arpit at the beginning of the session, that the importance of micro interactions in today's product that we are designing for the user. What do you think of that?
I think I kind of touched base on this before. It is same as the importance of smiling when having a handshake. What extra does the smile do? Your handshake won't be incomplete without a smile, but it will still make a lot of difference, because when you do that, you're not just thinking of the interaction of handshaking. You are looking at a holistic thing that, okay, why am I shaking hands? Because I met this person for the first time. Why did I meet him? Because he's a nice person. And why do I want to make it a eventful interaction? Because I want to continue this relationship. That is your overall Uber goal. And to do that, you do everything to make your first interaction good, so that your future interactions are good as well, right? So I think that's exactly what micro interaction does to you. So it is not just about sliding the screen in. No, it's not at all that. What is your Uber goal, right? So to achieve your Uber goal effectively, do you need this? Yes, then do it.
Yeah. So like you said, like if I talk about the smiling example that you gave, so that, we have a physical touch happening there and we are face to face, but what thought process does it go when you have something that you have to design on this, and you have to create an event that brings a smile on the face of the user. So what thought process do you follow, or like one should follow to get that thing right?
So again, if I were to do something like this, I will go all the way back. First I will start from a very holistic and a bird's eye view of things, right? And that is not to make the person smile. The idea is to make a lasting relationship. And I will do everything needed to make a lasting relationship with that person. And what I need to do may differ. Say what I need to do with Ashwin may be different from what I need to do with Arpit versus what I need to do with Nattu, because you three are different individuals. What you like, dislike would be different. And what would incite you, or what would help you into building a lasting relationship with me would be different. Maybe I will try and do something like that. So again, coming to digital context, I will look into who my users are and what am I trying to achieve at a particular step. And I will do anything that is needed, right? I was again talking to someone during at the virtual table. It's like, when you know the capability and the power of a certain thing, which is motion design in this case, you apply it, right? I was giving the example of language again. Say I'm speaking in English, I'm saying certain words. Why do you think I'm using these words? There are 10 different ways of speaking the same sentence, and all those 10 words are in my head. But of all the 10 words, I figured out that this word is the best to do right now, is used right now. And hence I'm using those words to speak that sentence. So similarly, when I'm designing, I will know that, okay, I need to achieve A, B, and C. And I know 10 things in my head: UX, copywriting, visual, motion, everything. What is the best thing that I can do here? If my mind tells me that motion is, then I will do it, right? Now imagine someone who doesn't even have motion in their head. It will never be the answer, right? So, if I do not know a word in English, I do not know it at all, I will never use it, no matter how appropriate it is, because I don't know it. I can use it only when I know it. Similarly, you can apply motion design to solve a UX problem only when you know it, right?
Got it. Perfect. So that's a lot of thought process that goes into it when you are doing it. But
right,
when you have to hand it off to the developer, to implement it on the design. How easy or difficult does that become? Like, how do you go about that?
So I think there are all funny stories of fights between designers and developers where
Yeah,
the translation is never complete. I showed this and you made this. What the hell, right? So it's all of that. But I must say I am really, really, really fortunate in this aspect because our developers at Swiggy are kick ass. They are not the kind of people who would say, "Hey, why did you make it?" In fact, our developers are the kind of people who would come to me with a gleaming eye saying that, "Hey, Sapta, this new thing has come. Let's make something cool." That's the kind of developers I'm fortunate enough to work with. And I'm really, really thankful to God because that has happened to me. So that's the attitude of our people, our team, right? And I know that it doesn't happen everywhere, right? So whenever we build any sort of, let's talk again motion design because that's what our event is today. There are different sorts of things, right? So whenever we make anything in After Effects, at least before, it was always a video. And there would be lesser use cases when you can exactly use that video asset and play it because it's not always practical. Video sizes, it gets pixelated, and a lot of other things. So many things that we do till today, be it a transition or something, we show it to our developers in form of a prototype or in form of a video, and they replicate it using code. There is no other systematic way of doing it. It is just eyes. You see this is what we need to make. But okay, I will make it based on this video. And after a first cut, they will come to me and say, "Hey, does it look good?" Then I will look and say, "Okay, you know what, this is good, but let us, add a little more delay, half a second of delay, or let us, add a little more easing, or this is appearing a little too fast. Let us make it a little slower. Let us delay it by another 1/4 of a second, and so on." And after this, yeah, we have it. But then with Lottie, things got a lot simplified. And of course, anything which is non-transitional, anything, be it some sort of a thing that we want to show, so recently at Swiggy, I did something where, you tap on a tip amount, and then we have an animation of a biker, one of our delivery executives coming, some confetti coming, and, it's raising his hands in joy. So what we wanted to do there was we wanted to build some empathy, and we wanted the world to know that, hey, you know what, this delivery people, they are working outside for you so that you can comfortably sit at home and be locked down, right? So someone is taking the bullet for you. So let us celebrate. So when you choose to, add a tip, we show that, okay, you have affected or you have improved the life of somebody. So that was the emotion that we wanted to bring. That kind of animations we wouldn't even dare before. I mean, I'm sure, if I tell my developers to hard code it, they would do their level best to do it. But imagine the time that would be taken. Is it really worth it? But thank God we have Lottie now. So the process is much simple because what we design or what I animate is the thing that sits on the app. So it is just like an image asset. We give the JSON file, and then they put it on the app, and they come and show, hey, is the position fine? So there is no talking about the animation anymore because that I've already taken care of. Is the position fine? Do you want it 1 pixel above or 1 pixel down? Just like you would do it for a static screen, the same thing. So something as simple as a green tick after that we show after any kind of success message, that might take close to a week or even 2 weeks for a developer to hard code. They would do a great job, but it would take time because it takes effort. Today, it takes less than 15 minutes of configuration. That's it. We make it, we give it to them. 15 minutes we know the position is right, and done. That's it. There is nothing else. So the amount of time that we are saving is like, unmatchable. So that is something that Lottie has done. I always wished transitions started, we could do transitions using Lottie, and that has also come. I was recently reading a blog, but I'm yet to test it out because haven't got an opportunity to test it out yet in the real product. But when I do, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it because I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, and we look forward to that. Like, yeah. I definitely do. And now, I think the one question that I have is, like, what do you suggest to people who plan to get into motion designing, interaction design, and keeping in mind, like you just said, that the future is really bright and it's going to grow. How should one get into it and do and learn about it?
See, the way I did it was I hustled myself. I mean, since I got to know that this is the tool, the next day I got the tool in front of me. My office gave me a license because they would just give if you want to learn something. So I got the license. I opened the interface, and I would stare at it because it was so complicated. It's
Yeah.
not like any other Photoshop, Illustrator, or Sketch and Figma that you use. It is very different. There are different components here and there. It's scary. It feels like, am I going to drive a rocket now? Because there are so many panels out there. So that is the first place where people drop off. They see that and they're like, this is not my thing. I'm going to step out. Nope, not happening. So that fear is inside, right? So all that we need to do is to overcome that fear. And how do you do? There are many ways, if you can, do a trial and error and figure out how things are working, that's one way. Or you talk to someone or sit with someone who knows motion design already, who can help you out, right? But in this lockdown, that is kind of a little difficult because, it's not possible to interact with people. Other thing, of course, is, you can watch tutorial videos. They work really well. I mean, they work quite good is what I feel. And even before all these things, one thing that you need to do when we are doing motion design is to understand how the world functions, right? Little bit of understanding of physics. I don't mean the equations. I mean, how real life is. I gave the example of when you throw this, how will it go and fall? It'll fall at projectile motion. I don't care about what the equation of that line is, but you know that it's a curve sort of motion. As long as you know that, as long as you know that when this is coming at this speed, it's going to hit, then I will move my head. Or if it's coming slow, I may not move my head so much. So as long as you have an idea of that, it's good enough. So that's a prerequisite for any kind of motion design, that is understanding the world around you. And the rest of it, it is just tools. I'm usually not a person who recommends a tool saying that, hey, learn After Effects or something, because I strongly believe tools evolve. If it is After Effects today, which is complicated, tomorrow it will be some other effects, and that will be very simple that anyone can pick it up and learn. So it is the inherent sense of motion inside which you need to have. And after that, whichever tool it is simple. But in a world where we do not have that simple tool, maybe After Effects it is. So, I mean, if you guys know, I have a YouTube channel. I recently started a YouTube channel, and I'm planning a masterclass or some sort of a course on motion design. In fact, I will drop it hopefully on Monday. It'll be a series of a couple of videos. It's intended towards people who knows nothing about motion design, nothing about After Effects, was never opened it. So I'm going to teach you motion design right from the basics, and it'll be primarily driven keeping UX or UI in mind, keeping mobile or the kind of work which, people like you and I do, right? So, and with every video, you will be learning to animate one new thing that is going to make you feel so confident that, hey, this wonderful thing, I made it in the last 30 minutes. Can you believe it? So that's the kind of feeling that you will have. And I will also pick up some of the shots which I posted on Dribble, and I will do a tear down and I will teach you how to animate those things. So that's something that I haven't planned. So once that is out, that could be a good place to start motion design as well.
That's really nice.
Okay. I am more excited than I was at the beginning of the session now.
Yeah.
And I could really see, the emojis flying all the way to the screen. So yeah, I am pretty sure the attendees are really excited about it as well.
Even if you'll check the chat, so people are very excited about the masterclass itself. So,
Okay.
Yeah. So
perfect. We really look forward to it now.
We have some questions from the questions tab. Like you talked about the tools that you use, and you said that After Effects is one tool that you primarily use. So we have a question that any alternative to AE for micro interaction, which is After Effects, because it's quite massive. So any other alternative that you know?
You can always create some simple stuff using simpler prototyping tools like Principle. Like, many of the things that you see on my Dribble, at least, which I had done using After Effects because, I got comfortable with the tool, can be done using Principle as well, right? But the problem is there is no way you can hand off that. Using Principle, you can at best have a video. There's no Lottie support for Principle, unless Nattu is planning to build it. So there's no Lottie support or any other mechanism to get those things out and give it as asset from Principle. Principle is very good when you want to interact, when you want to show, hey, this is the concept that we have in mind, try it out. I just prototyped it. And you play around, you feel like, wow, yeah, it's like a real feel. You're tapping and things are working. So it's an amazing prototyping tool. But when it comes to motion design, at times you need more. for the handoff capability at least, right? But again, if it is about just communicating to your developer, this is how it should look, and aage ka you make yourself, you hard code it, then of course principle will work as well. But yeah, that's, I think, or any other prototyping tool. Principle is what I use. I believe there are many other tools as well. Yeah.
Right. So one thing that you told that like you have this thought process where you first like think about the scenario of the real world. So we have a question that do you incorporate motion or micro interactions during designing or later?
It's it depends. The ideal process would be to you think about the problem that you're solving. Remember, I said the holistic big thing is to have a lasting relationship with the person. Handshake and smile is just different ways to ensure that in the process, right? So the holistic thing. So we always start from the holistic thing, but at times you get so used to the process, you get so comfortable with the process that you have certain chunks in mind. Yes, I mean, speaking about me, I think that yes, this is the holistic thing, this is what I need to do. But somewhere I also think that, okay, you know what, I will do it, but when handshake is happening, I'll also smile. So at times happen, okay, this is the app I'm going to build, I know this is the problem I'm trying to solve, but when that happens, I will do this little bit. So that just remains like an Easter egg in your mind, and then when you reach that process, you do it. So yeah.
So like one question is related to the answer that you have just given. So how do you figure out touch points where micro interaction can make the UI delightful without being too flashy? So it's a question from my side as well. Like when do you decide that?
Right. So, regarding this, I would again say, why do you need a micro interaction should be a primary question that you ask, right? So I give you an example of smile. Like, smile is a nice thing, but imagine if I had given that wicked smile while shaking hands with you, that'll look very inappropriate. The other person will get scared. What is wrong with him, right? So you need to know when it is needed and why it is needed and what kind of animation or what kind of micro interaction is needed. So I don't think this is a question related to motion design at all. This is more of a psychology or a UX question. You need to understand what will happen when I do this, right? So as long as you have that understanding, it should be fine. And in spite of all this, if you're not able to figure out, at times we designers, it happens that we fall in love with what we make so much that we do not see the shortcomings of that. I made this, I spent 24 hours creating this animation. How can you say that's not good for the user? We shouldn't do that. It happens to me, happens to everyone. So in that case, what you can do is make a video or a prototype, show it to your friends around, show it to your fellow designers around. What do they think? At times, I feel that everything is perfect, but when I show it to my people, they said that, yeah, it's too fast, samajh nahi aa raha hai, or it's too slow, can you make it little fast, right? Or this thing is little too much, can we omit that, it's not needed, or this is not flashy enough. So all this kind of feedback, at times you don't get it because you are into it, you fall in line. It's like your kid, okay? You will not see the mistakes he make, something like that. So get feedback. Yeah, that's another way.
All right. Okay, so we're going to take one more question for this session, and I just want to tell all the attendees that we'll try to take as many questions we can because we have a Q&A session aligned after we're done with the next session. And Sapta has been kind enough to give us 20 minutes after this and have a one-on-one session, everyone who wants to interact and ask him questions about it. So we just want to take one more question and then we'll move on. So this question is from Andy, who is asking you that when do you think we need to implement micro interaction in a flow?
Okay, I think I just answered that.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of there, but yeah, you think holistically, what do you want to achieve in this flow, right? And I think, yes, I have spoken about, the additional things which helps you achieve the Uber goal. Or at times there could be other instances as well. You feel that certain step is very monotonous. There are chances that people will drop out. One good example I always give is Cred. Cred is a different sort of app. Let us not get into the UX discussion because people have different sort of opinion. But what I think about Cred is when I got into Cred 2 years back, I think the initial onboarding process is long. It's very long. Okay, you enter your PAN, you enter this, you enter that, then it fetches the API, it gets some of your credit scores. It takes a good amount of time. So what happens is, although it's a simple process, but it's time taking, people may drop off. Okay, it's like, what the hell is this? Why is it taking so much time? Okay, I'll close it. I'll see it later. Drop off is very bad for any kind of product. But what Thread people did was they made every step so rewarding with animations, with micro interactions, is that you stick to it, right? You don't realize that it's taking 30 seconds or 40 seconds. What you realize is, oh, this is animation is good. And then you see it, you think for some time. And by that time, a lot of time has already passed. So you don't feel that you're waiting for a lot of time. So you see what animations have done here, micro interactions have done here. It has prevented you from a flow, a long and boring flow, where otherwise you might have dropped off, right? So you need to understand such cases as well. Are there chances of user dropping off or user not doing what I want them to do? If you think adding an animation can help achieve that or make that better, do it. Like, that's another way of analyzing the whole thing.
Perfect. All right. So thank you so much for your thoughts and insights on motion interaction, motion design. I mean, 30 minutes, and that's a lot of insights one could share with us. And
Thank you, guys. Thanks for hosting me. I'll be there for the other Q&A also. But even if I'm not able to cover some of the questions because of time, you can always connect with me over, LinkedIn, Instagram, or any other place. I would love to have your questions there, right? So you can connect with me, drop me a message. I'll be more than happy to answer.